Scientists love slapping that extinct label on animals. But here's the thing, sometimes they get it spectacularly wrong. There are no bears in Africa, so what are people seeing? Australia already has terrifying wildlife, but what if there's something even worse? What if dinosaurs never actually went extinct? What if sloths weren't cute and slow, but absolutely terrifying? That's why we put together a list of 7 animals that are supposedly extinct, but might actually still be alive. And number 3? Well, let's just say it's gonna freak you out. Okay, first up, this one had stripes like a tiger, but wasn't even close to being a cat. The Thylacine, or as most people call it, the Tasmanian tiger. And no, it wasn't a tiger at all. It was a marsupial. You know, like kangaroos and koalas carry their babies in pouches. Except this thing looked like someone tried to mix a dog with a tiger, and the experiment went totally sideways. The last one we know about died in a zoo back in 1936. In a literal zoo. Humans hunted them until there were none left, because farmers blamed them for eating their sheep and stuff. Great job, humanity. We're real proud of ourselves. But here's where things get weird. Since 1936, there have been thousands of people claiming they saw this striped dog thing vanishing into the wilderness. Some folks even got blurry photos and shaky videos, though nothing's been proven yet. Still, people keep seeing them. Park workers, people hiking, locals, they all swear they've spotted something that looks exactly like a thylacine. Some experts think maybe a small group survived in the most isolated areas. Is it alive? Probably not, but considering the last confirmed one only died less than 100 years ago, it's not totally impossible either. And honestly, people want to believe it's still alive. It's like this symbol of hope that maybe we didn't completely wreck everything after all. Imagine the scariest predator you can think of. Now, make it worse. This is legitimately one of the most terrifying hunters that ever existed, the giant short-faced bear. This monster roamed North America during the Ice Age and supposedly died out around 11,000 years ago. When it stood up on its back legs, it hit 12 feet tall. That's taller than a basketball hoop, and it weighed up to 2,000 pounds of pure muscle and anger. Unlike regular bears today that are kind of chunky and slow, this bear was built like an Olympic athlete. Long legs, a shorter face than normal bears, that's where the name comes from, and it was fast, like scary fast. Scientists think it could sprint at 40 miles per hour. That's faster than cars drive in neighborhoods. It only ate meat and was basically king of the food chain. Even saber-toothed cats would see this thing and nope out of there. But here's the creepy part. In remote parts of Alaska, Canada, and even the northern United States, people have reported seeing absolutely massive bears that don't look like any species we know. We're talking bears way bigger than grizzlies or polar bears, with weird body shapes and super aggressive attitudes. Some Native American tribes in Alaska still tell stories about giant bears living deep in the wild. Hunters have found tracks that are way too huge to belong to any bear we know about. The thing is, massive chunks of Alaska and northern Canada have never been explored. These places are so remote that basically nobody goes there. Thick forests, mountains, caves, perfect hiding spots for something that doesn't want to be discovered. Could there still be giant short-faced bears alive? Scientists say probably not, but they also said that about other animals that turned out to still exist, so who knows? If you're ever hiking in Alaska and you see a bear that looks wrong, like way too tall and way too fast, maybe just turn around immediately. Actually, scratch that. Run. Run the opposite direction. And this is nothing compared to what's hiding in the jungle later on this list. Alright, so the dodo is definitely extinct. Like, we're 99.9% sure about this one. But the story is so crazy that it needs to be here anyway. The dodo was this big, chunky bird that couldn't fly and lived on Mauritius, an island in the Indian Ocean. It weighed around 50 pounds, had zero fear of predators because there weren't any on the island, and basically just wandered around eating fruit all day, living its absolute best life. Then humans showed up in the late 1500s. Dutch sailors found Mauritius and were like, sweet, free food that doesn't even try to escape. They hunted dodos for meat, and the rats, pigs, and monkeys they brought along ate all the dodo eggs. By 1662, less than 100 years after humans arrived, the dodo was completely wiped out. Done. It became the ultimate symbol of extinction caused by humans. But here's the interesting part. For years after the last confirmed dodo was seen, sailors kept reporting birds that looked like dodos on nearby islands. Some of these reports came from islands that hadn't been fully checked out yet. There were even drawings and descriptions that matched the dodo pretty well. Today, scientists are actually trying to bring the dodo back using genetic engineering. They've figured out its DNA from old bones and are working on potentially recreating it, similar to what they're doing with woolly mammoths. Is the dodo still alive somewhere? Almost certainly not. The last confirmed one died over 350 years ago, and Mauritius isn't that big. We would have found it by now. But the fact that people kept reporting sightings for years after it was declared extinct shows that sometimes we're completely wrong about when animals actually disappear. And if scientists can bring it back from extinction using DNA, that's almost cooler than finding a living one anyway. What if sloths weren't cute and slow, but absolutely terrifying? The Megatherium. Basically, imagine a regular sloth. Now imagine that sloth spent 10,000 years straight at the gym and got absolutely ripped. This thing was one of the biggest land mammals that ever lived. We're talking 20 feet long and nearly 9,000 pounds. It's basically a small bus, except covered in fur with massive claws. It lived all over South America until about 10,000 years ago, when it supposedly went extinct. Climate change, plus humans hunting it, probably finished it off. But here's where it gets wild. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, local tribes still talk about something called the Mokele-Mbembe. They describe this huge creature that walks on two legs, knocks down entire trees like they're nothing, flips over canoes just for fun, and makes these absolutely bone-chilling growling noises that echo through the jungle. Sound familiar? Because that's basically a perfect description of a giant ground sloth. Jungle explorers have found weird footprints, trees that look like they've been destroyed by something massive, and strange sounds coming from parts of the forest where nobody ever goes. Scientists admit the Amazon is so huge and unexplored that, yeah, technically something this big could be hiding there. So maybe it's extinct, or maybe it's watching you right now from behind a tree in the Amazon. Wait until you see number 2. It literally sounds like a dinosaur. Now we're getting into the seriously wild territory, the Mokele-Mbembe. This legendary creature supposedly lives in the Congo River Basin in Central Africa. The name translates to the one who stops the flow of rivers, which is already pretty terrifying. According to descriptions, it looks like a reptile up to 33 feet long with a long neck and a huge, bulky body. Basically, it sounds exactly like a diplodocus, which is a dinosaur that went extinct 66 million years ago. Yeah, a living dinosaur in Africa right now. The first written reports showed up in the early 1900s when European explorers heard local tribes talking about this creature. The tribes pointed to specific swampy areas where it supposedly lived. Some claimed they'd watched it crossing rivers and creating huge waves. Over the years, tons of expeditions have tried to find proof, but nobody's ever brought back anything definitive. Still, the sightings keep happening. Some reports even describe boats getting flipped over by this thing defending its territory. Most scientists are super skeptical. They think people are probably seeing hippos, large monitor lizards, or just making stuff up. But the idea of a living dinosaur hiding in the African jungle, that's one of the biggest mysteries in cryptozoology. Australia already has terrifying wildlife, but what if there's something even worse? Number 2, Megalania. This was a giant lizard that lived in Australia around 50,000 years ago. It could grow over 20 feet long and weigh nearly 1,100 pounds. Megalania was a top predator. It looked like a modern monitor lizard, but way, way bigger. Possibly the biggest land-dwelling lizard in history. Its scientific name shows it's closely related to the Komodo dragon. Scientists think Megalania hunted large marsupials using ambush tactics. It probably delivered deadly bites, possibly even with venomous saliva like its modern relatives. Interestingly, some Aboriginal legends talk about giant snakes with legs. While there's no hard evidence Megalania survived into modern times, stories from hunters and unusually large footprints found in remote areas keep the mystery alive. In the 1970s, reports from Queensland described a massive scaly reptile vanishing into the bush. These sightings were never confirmed, but they continue to fascinate researchers. The Australian outback is so vast and wild that, honestly, a dinosaur-like predator could totally be hiding out there. There are no bears in Africa, so what are people seeing? Finally, we've got the Nandi Bear. This mysterious animal supposedly lives in East Africa, especially in Kenya and Uganda. Witnesses describe it as a weird mix between a bear, a hyena, and a leopard. Local tribes tell stories of a strong, muscular creature with thick fur that hunts at night and makes absolutely terrifying sounds. Here's what's weird. There are no bears in Africa, like none, zero. But since the early 1900s, colonists, travelers, and locals have all reported seeing this strange beast. Some researchers think it could be a surviving species of short-faced bear or an extinct giant hyena that somehow didn't die out. Today, cryptozoologists believe that if the Nandi Bear exists, it's probably deep in remote savannas or forests of East Africa. In recent decades, locals have reported unusual livestock attacks with deep growls and massive tracks. Some biologists suggest a genetic mutation in a known species, like a hyena or leopard, could have created an isolated, unknown population. So there you have it. 7 supposedly extinct animals that might still be out there, hiding in places humans rarely go. Are they real? Probably not, but Earth is absolutely huge, and we haven't explored all of it yet. So maybe, just maybe, some of these creatures are still lurking out there somewhere. And honestly, that's both terrifying and awesome at the same time. Okay, bye.